I am once again in the chapel of the Madonna Mora, which, as you will remember, was the little church of Santa Maria Mater Domini, then incorporated into the great basilica. Antony was buried here in 1231, and it was here that Saint Bonaventure found the tongue still fresh and red 32 years later, when the tomb of the saint was first opened. The mortal remains of the saint, laid in two coffins, one inside the other, were then buried in a marble sarcophagus and placed in the center of the basilica. Let's go and see exactly where. The sarcophagus was placed right here, under one of the major domes of the basilica, and because it was raised from the ground thanks to 4 columns, the sick could be laid under it, as proved by Giusto di Menabuoi's fresco we have already seen. Of the place where the sarcophagus had been placed, there remains a little sign, an L, which stands for locus, a Latin word that means place. It remained in this position probably until 1310, when a special chapel was finally created to accommodate the saint's body, the chapel of St. Anthony, where it remains to this day. However, in those days, the chapel of St. Anthony was completely different from the way it looks now. It was built in the typical style of the time, the Gothic style, and only 200 years later it was decided to renovate it completely. A new chapter in the history of the saint's relics was opened on February 15, 1350, when Cardinal Guy de Boulogne came here to the Basilica of St. Anthony in Padua on a pilgrimage to thank the saint for having been miraculously healed from the Black Death. The Cardinal did not come empty-handed, however. He brought with him a precious reliquary where the saint's chin, which had been removed by Saint Bonaventure, could be housed. To mark this important event, the Feast of the Relics was established. This feast is commonly known as the Feast of the Tongue, and since then it has been celebrated every year on February the 15th. I am now in the sacristy of the Basilica because I would like to show you something very interesting. You know, at the end of 1350, after Cardinal de Boulogne's visit and the institution of the Feast of the Tongue, besides St. Anthony's body, which was kept in the sarcophagus in the Gothic chapel, pilgrims had also the opportunity to venerate 3 other outstanding relics of our saint: the tongue, the chin, and the forearm. But where were they kept? Precisely here, on this early 15th century large and precious wall-mounted closet with inlays by Lorenzo Canozzi. These 3 major relics were kept here until 1745. But now let's go back to the Chapel of the Relics so that I can show you another important reliquary. Generally kept in the central niche, we are now admiring this precious silver reliquary from the early 14th century. For over a century, it housed nothing less than the incorrupt tongue of St. Anthony. However, later on, it was transferred to a new and even more precious reliquary, leaving this one free to contain a new relic, which is a piece of skin from St. Anthony's head. According to scholars, Anthony's face was rather narrow but oval and elongated. He had an aquiline nose, full lips, a pronounced chin with a trim beard, with deep dark eyes. His teeth were healthy and regular. In short, a face that emanated serenity, peace, and total abandonment to the Lord. No wonder then that everyone wanted to see him, meet him, talk to him, and be comforted by him. His face was the image of a person in constant communion with God. I must confess that I always feel deeply moved whenever I'm closer to one of St. Anthony's relics. And I think Jesus became flesh. He became a human person so that we too may have divine life. Being born into this world, the Lord transformed our body, our soul, our flesh, our bones, our blood into something divine. And now, through their relics, the saints who were touched by the love and grace of God have the possibility of conveying that grace to us. Let us therefore pray now before these relics to Anthony, the saint we all love. Dear St. Anthony, the love of God and the support of your Franciscan brothers have made you a tireless announcer of the Gospel. Allow us, through our humanity, to show love toward God and our brothers and sisters. Turn us into loyal and sincere people toward our relatives and friends, so that we may sustain them in life's trials. Amen.